Greetings, kindred spirits, and a very big welcome to April. I'm sure most of you are just as relieved as what I am to have reached the other side of an intense and dramatic month. And I would like to apologise for not being able to produce the horoscopes for the full moon last month. Mercury retrograde definitely caused some chaos in my life. Apart from breakdowns with some of my appliances, I also had to undergo some dental work that involved anaesthetic, and that left me feeling quite unwell, especially with my throat and ability to speak fluently. I don't know if any of you noticed the struggle I had with recording my last podcast, but, my voice just kept cutting off, and it was really frustrating. But anyway, thank you so much for your patience, and, thank God my throat has cleared now, so hopefully this podcast will just flow nicely. So the new moon begins on the 5th of April at 9:50 in the GMT time zone, at 4:50 in the EDT time zone, and at 19:50 in the AEDT time zone, and the moon will be in Pisces in the true lifetime sky. Pisces is a very psychic energy, and depending on our emotional maturity, the Pisces moon will either enlighten us or confuse us. But either way, there will be a need for quiet reflection and some brain space. Many of us will continue to experience synchronicities, such as number patterns. Personally, I've been seeing 222 since 2016 amongst other number sequences. But funny enough, over the last few days, I've been seeing the number 1313. Of course, the number 13 is especially important to me as a 13 Star Sign Astrologer, and also understanding the true spiritual significance of this number. As I said in my last podcast, the number 13 represents wholeness, holiness. It also breaks down to the number 4. In numerology, so also represents stability and solid foundations. So please do let me know in the comments section below if any of you are or have been experiencing any number sequences or synchronicities, especially through the month of March. As there were a lot of portal activations going on, especially around the 333 frequency. Also, I've spoken to a few people who have been experiencing headaches at the top of the forehead between the third eye and the crown chakra. And I strongly feel that that is relative to the Kundalini awakening that many have been experiencing of late. So please do meditate on these areas, as it would be that the Kundalini might be blocked from fully emerging out of the crown chakra. I would also recommend that you work on clearing the sacral chakra. And that sacral chakra is actually very relevant this new moon. And I'll be getting into that in a little while. Because the sacral chakra is the most common area for the Kundalini to become blocked in. It's only when you actually feel it shoot up through the spine and chakra points and out of your crown chakra into the universe that the full awakening has taken place. But please do not force it, just meditate and allow it to happen naturally. You can also leave any questions or comments below if you would like to share your experience or ask any questions. Personally, I remember when my Kundalini first shifted, it actually did get stuck in my sacral. Of course, at the time, I didn't know what it was or what it was all about. It's only later in life that, through research and reflecting on it, that I've actually realised that, my Kundalini was actually blocked in my sacral. And I think it was about a year later it actually emerged. But that was for a traumatic experience. So, for those of you that have gone through traumatic experiences, which has, set it off, I think it's just grounding techniques for you. But for those of you that feel it's blocked in your body, I would definitely work on the sacral chakra area. in meditation. And apart from that, we have 3 T-squares this new moon, including the one I've been following since last June between the moon's nose and Uranus, which was also a shapeshifter and a very important grand aspect that has played a major role in the evolution of our spiritual development throughout all the portals and gateway activations that took place throughout the last summer. And, that particular T-square took us right up until the end of March this year. Uranus is renowned for sudden shifts, especially when it comes to shifts in consciousness, since he rules the crown chakra and is also the ruler of Aquarius. Uranus has now departed from the T-square, so the intense nervous energy that most of us has been feeling since last June, that will now subside. I guess for anyone that have got planets or points in their 13 star sign natal chart in Aquarius have been feeling this energy the most. I personally have my moon, Jupiter and Chiron in Aquarius, and honestly, I have been all over the place mentally, and I have found it extremely hard to stay focused and on track. Although I must say meditation has been extremely helpful, as well as listening to my body and what my body needs. Although even that has been hard to keep up with, since the needs have been constant, but I've been going with the flow and holding on to my faith with trust and gratitude. But even though Uranus has left the ongoing T-square, the goddess Pallas and Pluto are still involved, and recently, over the last few months, Saturn has stepped into the picture. So he is stepping into the picture to, preparing for his face-to-face meeting with Pluto, which, the conjunction will occur in January 2020. So they're coming face-to-face in January 2020. And I did discuss that in my last podcast, so please do listen to that if you want to know more about that. At the moment, Pluto is in an exact conjunction to the South Node this new moon. Together they are determined to clear out the old to make way for the new. And Pluto is also connected to the sacral chakra, which is also connected to our maternal lines. And, is the place where our shadow hides. So the sacral chakra is also where the shadow kind of resides. And Pluto's wife, the Black Moon Lilith, is also associated with the sacral chakra. So some of us definitely need to meditate on this area for healing our ancestry lines. And as I said, to help the Kundalini to flow. But if we are going to work on this area, then I would also meditate on healing the root chakra too, because the root chakra is also connected to our ancestry lines, but those connected to the paternal. The root chakra is associated to Saturn and represents our roots in the physical world, our sense of security with regards to our material desires. So, working on the two is working on our maternal and paternal ancestry lines. The goddess Pallas, however, is very much associated with all the air signs, Aquarius, Gemini, Libra. And the air signs are all connected to the mind. Pallas herself is all about seeing the bigger picture and recognising patterns, especially with regards to our emotions and behaviour. So while Uranus was pressuring us to make the shifts and changes to our consciousness and our way of seeing things, the goddess Pallas is now broadening the scope. Remember 2018 was all about inner reflection, but 2019 is about outer reflection and manifesting our concepts into the physical world. That is why it's so important for us to stay focused on keeping our vibration high. And if anyone is struggling with that, then I really would recommend that they divert any intense energy into something creative, art, music, poetry, or any other form of crafting to release the intensity of their emotions. But I would say on the whole, even those of us that are flowing, get creative, do something creative, because it will be an expression and a release of the creativity to keep it flowing nicely. So this new T-square formation, now with the moon's nodes and the goddess Pallas, it isn't all smooth sailing, because although the nervous energy of Uranus is out of the picture, so to speak, the moon's nodes, Pluto, Saturn and the goddess Pallas will be enforcing us to break out of old patterns of behaviour and to develop our ability towards self-sufficiency and following our own guidance, stepping into our self-confidence, and also stepping outside of the box with regards to our way of thinking and being. The moon in Pisces is all about creating healthy boundaries and inner strength. We must avoid, though, over-analysing our problems or concentrating too hard on any details. We must avoid becoming obsessed with the trivialities and open our eyes, our hearts and our minds to make the best of this aspect, especially since this T-square with the nodes and Pallas will stay in effect until around about the Lionsgate portal that takes place in mid-August. The other two T-squares are more or less in sync energy-wise, urging us to break away from toxic situations or people that we feel obligated to, and where we give away our power through compassion or pity that can so often be mistaken for love. We can only help those who want to help themselves. And even then, we have to assess what type of help is needed and if we are really equipped with the tools to supply that help. Sometimes we just have to trust in the divine and follow our own instincts. In this time where our sense of duty and self-value is being recreated. But we must also stay in a non-judgmental place and in a place of unconditional love. The Black Moon Lilith will be at 26 degrees in Capricorn, whilst her husband Pluto will be at 26 degrees in Sagittarius and in conjunction to the South Node, who will also be at 26 degrees, and which further emphasises the need to break out karmic patterns and work on healing our ancestry lines, our sacral chakras, which will help us to connect with the collective as an individual part of a whole and not submerge ourselves and get lost in the crowd, as an insignificant entity without cause or effect. Together we are stronger, but only if we are connected and in control of our own superpower, our own intellect, and our own self-confidence. Mars in Taurus will be in sextile to both Mercury and Neptune in Aquarius, and this offers us an opportunity to see things clearly and to take right action when it comes to our intuition, and avoid situations that can prove uncomfortable or invasive. Mercury and Neptune are also in sextile to Saturn, Pluto and the South Node, and that will help us to look beyond superficiality and, to live our lives by example. It is not our duty to wake others up to their own lives. It is our duty to plant the seeds by being an inspiration and allowing them to come to their own realizations. The goddess Juno in Taurus is in sextile to Uranus in Aries and offers us the opportunity to make the changes needed within our commitments or obligations through compromise and equality. Jupiter in Ophiuchus is in sextile to the goddess Pallas in Virgo, And that is offering us a great opportunity to see beyond the veil of the material world, and to see that there is a greater need for us to connect to our inner divine wisdom and not our desires for physical gain or material gain. So for this full moon and the next 2 weeks, I suggest that we connect to nature as much as possible for grounding. I also recommend that we spend as much time as possible near water. Actually, the water element is very strong this new moon. Firstly, because the moon will be in a water sign, which is Pisces, but also because Pluto and the sacral chakra are also connected to the water element too. So spa days would also be great, as well as sea salt baths. I also recommend that we burn a white candle for purity, and a wood fragrance incense such as cedarwood or sandalwood for grounding. And the meditation I would recommend for this new moon is, of course, by Steve Nobel, and it's called Archangel Jophiel Transmission. So that's Archangel Jophiel Transmission. And I've just recently learned that I can actually put links in my description box to other channels. I didn't actually know I was allowed to do that. So I will actually link that below. And that transmission is about invoking the citrine gold ray of beauty, creativity and joy. So it's very uplifting. And I think that's very much needed this new moon. So we can, start this month as we mean to carry on. So I'm wishing you all peace and much love.